Hey, ladies, it's episode 49 of the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer D'Amato, and I'm so excited for this episode. I am. Okay, if you've been around since the beginning, you're like, Jen, you say that every time. It's actually true. I really am excited every time I come on to record an episode. I'm really excited about this one though, because it has been listener requested. I've been asked by several listeners if I would devote an episode just to talking about intuitive eating. And since it's one of my favorite things to talk about, of course, I said, yes, I will. If you don't know, I actually have a free quiz you can take to find out if you are an intuitive eater. If you go into the show notes and head to my website, www.healthcoachforlife.com, you can select to take the intuitive eating self-assessment. All right, let's dive into the episode though and get into what is intuitive eating.
Welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast with certified life coach, mom of four, and just all-around lover of all things 80s, your host, Jennifer D'Amato. Buckle in. Let's get started.
So you may have been intrigued by the podcast title, and maybe that's why you're here. I purposely chose to title it It's Okay to Hate Kale because I really don't like kale. And it's so funny to me that this is one of the biggest questions I get. It's when I even became a health coach and I wasn't really focusing on intuitive eating as part of my practice. I got this question though all the time. Oh, do you eat a lot of kale? Like, do you like kale? I like kale when it's covered in oil and cooked in my oven and you make kale chips. But other than that, I don't like kale. I don't mind spinach, like baby spinach. I really do like a lot. But I don't like the taste of kale. And it's okay that I don't like kale. It's okay if you don't like kale. There's a lot of people that don't like beets. I mean, beets are freaking amazing. It's okay not to like beets. Intuitive eating is so not about rules. It is not about someone defining for you what's best for you, what is best for your health, for your body, for your mind. It's about you rediscovering, because we have to rediscover this. It's about you rediscovering what is best for you. To be able to describe intuitive eating, the first thing I like to do is give people what I believe is the best example of an intuitive eater. If you don't have access to this example, maybe you have a friend or relative that does. The best intuitive eaters I've ever met are toddlers. No joke. Toddlers who've yet to have societal messages, mixed messages from parents about food, about body image. Those toddlers are intuitive eaters. They honor their inner hunger signals. They eat whatever it is that they choose, what's available to them. They don't have guilt. They do not experience guilt when eating food. There's no ethical dilemmas for them. They are unaffected by what they're eating. It's amazing to witness. I always tell my clients, when you picture intuitive eaters and we look at the toddler as our best example, I always see them eating those things, when they're hungry, they stop. I have had 4 toddlers in this house, and that's not counting friends' kids who've come here. It's not just my kids. Then when they're done eating, they stop. They're satisfied. And here's the thing about intuitive eating and these toddlers. They stop eating when they're satisfied and they still have energy. They have enough energy to go trash your house. They haven't eaten so much that they're just sitting and watching TV for hours and they can't do anything. Nope. They have so much energy, you're like, slow your roll, kid. I can't keep up with the mess in this house. The other observation about toddlers and intuitive eating is they enjoy food. They enjoy what they're eating. I used to give this description of my kids when they would enjoy the food, they'd wear it. Now, I'm not suggesting to any of my clients or any of you that you wear your food. You're not a toddler. But when's the last time you enjoyed what you were eating? Enjoyed it so much you savored every bite. You tasted your food. Toddlers are the greatest example of intuitive eating. And let me just put an asterisk on that to say toddlers before those messages have come in. Because the reality is, as parents, we mess with intuitive eating. We mess with our kids' intuition at the table when it comes to food. I was guilty of this. And when I stopped doing that, what a difference in my house. When I allowed my children even to honor their hunger, honor their fullness, their satisfaction level, to eat foods that they enjoyed. It didn't mean I didn't present all foods to my kids. And it's amazing to see how as they get older and they try more things, what their palate enjoys. However, I didn't want them to be consumed with the messages that I was consumed with. The greatest negative effect on intuitive eating is dieting. Dieting messes with those internal signals. Dieting creates external rules to follow, no longer honoring the internal ones that your body was born with. Your body wants to survive. Your body wants to do whatever it can to keep you alive. So if you go on a diet, and let's be honest, it's usually not a diet, it's been diet after diet after diet after diet, your body is prepared for starvation. Your body has a concern. If you starve me again, I need to have a reserve, so I'm going to make sure I hang on to weight. I'm going to make sure I overeat when given the opportunity because you've been restricting. You may even say, well, I'm not on a set diet, but you're limiting food. You're restricting food. You've cut out entire food groups. Your body knows this. You are fighting those internal cues that you're hungry. You're fighting internal cues that you're actually satisfied. You're fighting the fact that food is meant to be enjoyed. So you've already heard some fundamental principles of intuitive eating. Honoring your body's hunger. Honoring when your body is satisfied, when you've had enough. And enjoying food is a fundamental principle of intuitive eating. But I want to give you a few others so that you have a greater understanding when you're done with this podcast. I don't want to go into such depth that it's overwhelming, because what happens when I work with clients is we have to break this down. We have to take small steps because my clients that come in have done countless diets. And I do mean countless. They've yo-yo dieted, their weight's gone up and down, they've focused solely on their weight. They've tried everything that there is. So we break this down into smaller components, and we simultaneously work on the emotions behind eating and the thoughts about ourself, especially negative self-talk, within the construct of becoming an intuitive eater. One very important fundamental principle of intuitive eating is rejecting diet culture, diet mentality. I even encourage my clients that we have to put weight loss on the back burner. It cannot be the focus. Healing our relationship with food becomes the main focus. And that really is a fundamental principle. Making peace with food, healing that relationship is so crucial to becoming an intuitive eater. And side by side with that, when you make peace with food, when you heal that relationship, you are better equipped to call out the food police. You know the food police. You're probably very familiar with them. They're the ones setting the rules. They're the ones dictating the types of foods that can be eaten, when you can eat, how much you can eat. The food police need to be called out. They need to be told no. They're the ones labeling food good and bad, therefore defining you as good or bad if you've eaten said foods. Another fundamental principle that I teach my clients as they're on their journey to become an intuitive eater is there's a difference between being full and feeling satisfied. This is probably one of the most eye-opening experiences for my clients, is when they can actually feel the difference of, that fullness of, I've eaten foods that make me feel good. I'm happy with what I've had. I always say I'm no longer hungry, to actually understanding what it means to feel satisfied and have pleasure in the eating experience. Now, unlike any diet program or book, 21-day fix, whole 30 in 30 days, you just need 2 weeks for this. That's not how intuitive eating works. The journey actually is very unique to the person, just like everyone's intuition about food and their body is different. Your journey depends on how long you've been dieting. It also depends on your thoughts, because dieting creates a set of thoughts that you have about food, about your body, and depending on how consumed you are with those thoughts can affect your getting back to being an intuitive eater. It also depends on if you've used food to cope with life, if emotions have been dictating your eating, it's going to stretch out, lengthen that journey back to becoming an intuitive eater. Another factor can be how much you trust yourself. The reality is, when we've dieted for years, we've really lost trust with ourselves. The other factor in this journey is what I've said before. Are you willing to put weight loss on the back burner, even temporarily? Just put that back there to learn to become an intuitive eater and make that your primary goal. If you focus on weight loss, it will disrupt those intuitive signals and you'll end up right back where you started. If it hasn't been clear already, intuitive eating is not a diet. That's not the purpose, the intent. It's not actually why my clients end up coming to me. My clients are women, mostly women. I do work with men, but mostly women. They come to me because they've done every diet under the sun. They've tried everything out there, and most of them believe they are the problem. What's so empowering about intuitive eating is acknowledging the problem is external. The problem is the diets. The problem is diet culture, not you. Intuitive eating is freedom and self-care put together to honor your body and your mind. Like I said at the beginning, I really wanted to give you some fundamentals, give you some foundation here of intuitive eating to have a better understanding of it. But the way I work in my practice is unique to every client. It's why I offer that free consultation. It's why you see that link in the show notes, and why I mention that is because every client has a personalized program with me. Yes, the principles and the foundation is the same, but every client shows up coming from a different story. Most are chronic dieters, but some have a greater emotional eating than others. Some love to move their bodies, others, it's the last thing they want to do. They all have different starting points, but the desired goal is to break free from diet culture, from dieting, from this yo-yo, from obsessing about their weight, and become intuitive eaters. When they get that visual of the toddler, most of my clients can see that and they go, "That's what I want." They see the freedom. They see how much more energy those toddlers have. That's what they desire. So maybe you've been on the fence about it. Maybe you are a chronic dieter and you think another diet, right? If I just find another diet, because you haven't found the magic one yet, but you're listening to this going, I'm done. I'm done dieting. This is what I've been looking for. I want to be an intuitive eater. I want to go back to that freedom before the messages. I don't want to use food to cope anymore. I want to honor my body. Then you're the one that's heading into the show notes right now, clicking to book that consultation. If you're on the fence and you're just not sure, I encourage you, go take my free quiz. The key is to be honest with yourself when you're answering. I want you to get accurate results. Maybe you are an intuitive eater, or maybe there's just a few areas you're struggling with. Go ahead and take that quiz. And don't worry, if you take the quiz and you find out, oh my gosh, I really now want to book that consultation, you can still do that. But maybe you just want some more information before you come into that consultation. Either way, whether you book a consultation today or you decide to take the quiz, I'm so glad it was requested to talk about this. Like I said, I mean, honestly, I could take up a 60-minute podcast episode just talking about intuitive eating. I'm done though, I promise. I wanted to give you guys those fundamentals. If you have more questions, if you want to seek more, head into the show notes and just head over to my website. There's so much more information there and a lot of other goodies for you. If you also want to reach out because you have questions, hop onto Instagram. There's so much about intuitive eating right there on my Instagram account, Jennifer_life and mindset coach. All right, ladies, until next week. Hey ladies, I want to let you know that I've partnered with Miss Sunshine Shades. They make the most amazing blue light blocking glasses. They make them for men, women, and your kids. So I know a lot of us have our kids at home staring at computer screens right now. These glasses are exactly what you're looking for. I love mine. I use them all the time, and so do my kids, especially my kiddo who has chronic migraines, no headaches at all. And she's on that computer for homeschooling a lot. If you go into the show notes, you can grab my discount code, which is Jennifer15, and get 15% off your order today. I think you're going to love them just as much as I do.